By the authority vested in me by the Charter of Brown University and the Board of Fellows of the Corporation, I hereby declare the 258th commencement of Brown University convened. So welcome to this beautiful spot on this very, very special day. It is my honor to speak to you on your very last day as Brown University undergraduate students. The first time I spoke to most of you was in September of 2022. Nearly 4 years ago at opening convocation, you just walked through the Van Winkle gates, you'd assembled on the main green for a ceremony. I want a show of hands. I want you to be honest. How many of you actually remember a single word I said that day? We got a few hands up. Either they're not honest or they have really good memories. So thank you. Don't worry, I am not insulted at all, truly. The first week of college is just a blur. It's new information, it's new faces, and it's this sudden overwhelming realization that you are finally there. It's wonderful. I bet that while you don't remember the speeches, you do remember the feelings. Maybe you were exhausted from orientation activities and everything that goes along with them. Perhaps you were excited and maybe more than a little bit anxious about navigating shopping period and finding exactly the right courses for you. And maybe tucked behind the thrill of starting college, you felt a quiet pang of homesickness. And now, here you are. You are still exhausted, although this time we'll blame senior week and campus dance. You're still excited and maybe a little anxious about the shopping period that will be the rest of your lives. And maybe mixed in with the thrill of what comes next, you're already feeling a new kind of homesickness, the nostalgia of leaving a place that has, over 4 years, become your home. But we know that home hasn't always felt like a sanctuary. If your time here began with a joyous march through the gates, it was forged in a furnace of challenges that we never could have predicted in 2022. You have navigated a world and at times a campus that was fractured by pain and divisive conflict. And you felt the sharp edges of a political climate that has at times made some of you feel like your values and your very identities were under attack. And then came December, a day that shattered our sense of peace and took from us 2 members of our family. I know there were days when the weight of it all may have felt like too much to carry. Times when uncertainty about the future made what comes next feel less like a promise and more like a question you weren't really ready to answer. But here's why, despite all of this, I am so optimistic about your futures. And this is why you should be too. We saw something remarkable happen in the shadow of those moments. We didn't see a community retreat. We saw a community reach out. We saw you show up for one another across lines of faith and nationality and identity, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Resilience isn't just the ability to bounce back, it's the refusal to let go of each other. You sustained each other through dark times, but you also reached for the light. I think of the students who organized and performed in the Thank You PVD concert to support local nonprofits after the tragedy. If any of you are out there, thank you so much. Those of you who wrote notes of thanks to local merchants who sheltered students. I think of the athletes who over the course of years have wowed us in competition, turning grit into inspiration. And brief side shout out, our co-ed sailing team just won a national championship. Pretty cool. I think of our orchestra students whose recent performance at Carnegie Hall, which was incredible. They reminded us that harmony is something that we have to create together. I think of the flash mob that took over the main green just a few weeks ago, this sudden burst of spontaneous joy that reminded us how to breathe again. If you're a part of that, thank you too. Throughout all this, you've practiced the hardest kind of citizenship there is, the kind that stays at the table when the conversation's painful, and the kind that holds a friend's hand when the world feels dark. So a few minutes ago, you walked through those same Van Wickle gates that welcomed you 4 years ago. But this time, the gates opened outward. The world you're walking to is loud, and it is complicated. It's in desperate need of all that you've learned here, the skills of critical thinking and open inquiry and dialogue, and in this desperate need for the specific kind of grace that you have practiced at Brown. The world needs people who know that community isn't something you just find. It's something that you build, sometimes with tired hands and sometimes with broken hearts. It needs people who've seen the worst of a December afternoon and responded with the very best of human kindness. So here's my final charge to the class of 2026. Maybe you'll remember it this time. Do not let the friction of the last 4 years turn you into cynical people. Let it turn you into courageous people. Carry the memory of the friend who sat with you in dark times. Be that light for someone else. Be the ones who refuse to look away from suffering and the ones who refuse to give up on the possibility of peace. You arrived here as strangers, looking for your place on this campus. You leave here as a family, having earned your place in Brown's history. So go check out the shopping period of the world. Find the causes worth fighting for the people worth holding on to, and the joy that you have all so deeply, deeply earned. And come back as often as possible to the campus that will always, always be your home. So congratulations, class of 2026. We are all so, so proud of you, and always be ever true. And now, I will bestow your degrees. This is the most important part of the day, so you have to really listen to this. So the first thing that I do is I have to ask permission from the fellows of the Brown Corporation to move forward with this ceremony. So here goes. So qui honorandi, juvenos quod agratem baccalaureae, idenos comperimus vomus praesentimus et eos ad hoc gradum promovere liceat rogamus.
Licet e placet.
He said yes. Candidatia gradum baccalaureae auscultabunt. Will the candidates for the bachelor's degree please listen attentively? Auctoritati mihi commissa vos ad gradum baccalaureae admitto, omniaqua iura ac privilegia ad hoc gradum pertinentia vobis concedo, in huius rei testimonium, diplomata vestris collegis in collegii gramine tradum. By the authority vested in me, I confer upon you the bachelor's degree, and I grant to you all rights and privileges pertaining to this degree. In testimony of this fact, I will award diplomas to your colleagues on the main green when we get back up to the main green. So, congratulations. You may now move your tassel to the left side of your mortarboard. And please remain in your places while the platform party is exited, and we will see you back up on the main green soon. Congratulations.